good morning, boys. Tomato sauce in here, and today I am talking Mythic Plus tanking. I know, something completely unique for the channel, but in Mythic Plus content, that's what I've dove into uh, on a Blood Death Knight. This is the ultimate Blood Death Knight guide for tanking, getting over your tank anxiety in Dragonflight Season 1 Mythic Plus dungeons. You're looking at him, boys. He's mean, he's little, he's a gnome Blood Death Knight, probably the coolest race class combination to tank in Mythic dungeons of all time. You also get Escape Artist, which, as you know, in Dragonflight dungeons, if you miss a kick and you get, and you get rooted, you actually get a ton of value out of it. So I think Gnome is a pretty cool race overall for tanking in Dragonflight, right? You're the littlest guy, and you got Escape Artist. You're getting out of the roots every minute. So let's get into it. Enough joking, right? We've got the Gnome Blood Death Knight here. What we're going to talk about today: talents, gearing, rotation, and maybe just some quick tips and tricks on tanking in Mythic Plus and helping you get over your tanking anxiety, because we all have it, folks. It's one of the hardest roles to do in any dungeon, or in any dungeon, right? Tanking, really, in any aspect of the game. Tanking Mythic Plus dungeons, which is the most toxic lobby since any League of Legends lobby that has ever existed. A lot of people can have anxiety when they tank, but hopefully you guys load up your Blood Death Knights and you get over that tanking anxiety with this video, because we're going to turn you into strong Death Knight tanks. All right. So let's look at the talents that are enabling us to tank on this level. First, in the class tree, we'll start out in the Frost node. You're going to take Chains of Ice down to Mind Freeze, because you want that kick, into Blinding Sleet, which is an awesome cone frontal that you'll interrupt all casts in front of you. So it just gives you an additional kick, which Death Knights have a ton of. You're going to have 2 grips, your normal Mind Freeze kick, and then your Blinding Sleet. So you're an absolute kick machine. Then on top of that, you have A-Bomb Limb, so you can actually walk backwards and A-Bomb grip casters to break even more kicks. They don't all track on details, but just know that if you play this class correctly, you are making the dungeon so easy for your DPS and healers to exist in, because you can actually yourself get the majority of the kicks. And a lot of them do track on details, where you should probably have over 30 kicks a dungeon as a Blood Death Knight. Now going further south in the Frost node, you'll see we take Permafrost. This is an absorb shield that your auto attack damage is going to give you, which is huge, because we also take Gloom Ward, and absorbs are 15% more effective on you, which means your Blood Shield is 15% more effective on you. What's Blood Shield? That's the Blood Decay Mastery. We're going to get into that soon. Let's keep going through this class tree. You can see we take Icebound Fortitude every 3 minutes. You can pop this. Gives you a 30% damage reduction, as well as immunity to any stuns. It's awesome. You're going to actually use this leading into certain packs in high keys. So Icebound Fortitude, it definitely helps you exist in keys. Merciless Strikes increase your critical strike chance by 2%. Runic Attenuation, your auto attacks have a chance to generate 5 runic power. On top of that, you're going to take Insidious Chill. Your auto attacks reduce the target's auto attack speed by 5% for 30 seconds. That stacks 4 times. Absolutely massive. You're going to be stacking so many different aspects with your auto attacks that they all kind of synergize very well with each other. And as far as being a tank goes, Insidious Chill definitely helps you out on those, scary boss mechanics, right? Stops the auto attacks from coming in as fast. Now you're going to take this into Icy Talons and Empower Rune Weapon, which is really nice, because that's 15% more haste for you whenever you pop Empower Rune Weapon. You're also going to gain 1 rune and 5 runic power instantly, and every 5 seconds for 20 seconds. So I like to line Empower Rune Weapon up with my Dancing Rune Weapon, and you'll see that when we get into the rotation. Now, Let's go into the blood node, right? We're going to start with Death Strike into Anti-Magic Shell, into Anti-Magic Barrier. You're going to have Anti-Magic Shell up so often. You'll be able to negate so many mechanics with this. It just really makes Blood Death Knight a very easy to learn tank once you understand this build in the class tree as well. And I'll get into the build. But AMS, awesome. Then you're going to take Improved Death Strike. That's just 5% more healing on your Death Strikes, and it reduces the cost of Death Strike, so you'll be able to get more Death Strikes out. It does a ton of damage, Death Strike, and it's also a massive heal. And if you time it correctly, you could be getting 400,000 plus HP Death Strikes off in high keys. So very awesome ability, and it completely enables Blood Death Knight to tank this content. Now you'll see we take Veteran of the Third War, 2 out of 2. Stamina increased by 20%. Absolutely have to take this as a blood DK because it's just about staying alive. What doesn't one-shot you makes you stronger. That's the mantra of a Blood Death Knight in keys. Very, very awesome. Have to take this. And then I actually take Anti-Magic Zone because I like to help out my healers in keys. A lot of people don't take this. I do. I think it's a must-have for keys. It's not as good as it once was, but you know, absorbing 782,000 damage is pretty damn good, and that's going to help your healers out in keys. I take this because I pug, and I like to help out pug healers with difficult mechanics. I don't have time to have like a set 5 because, you know, children, family, work, etc. If you're pugging, do things that are going to help enable your keys to be successful, right? Don't do things that, you know, don't be selfish with your talent points. Try to help out the people that you're bringing with you. Now let's go into the Unholy node, and you can see I go very deep in the Unholy trait. I take Raised Dead into Cleaving Strikes. Heart Strike hits up to 3 additional enemies while you remain in Death and Decay. Absolutely have to take this, and it synergizes very well with Heartbreaker over here. And then I take Enfeeble, so whenever I do have a ghoul up, which is, you know, every 2 minutes, the ghoul's attacks have a chance to reduce the enemy movement speed by 30%, and the damage they deal to you by 15% for 6 seconds. So it's kind of nice. Turns ghoul into a bit of a defensive CD. Then we also take Brittle, which my diseases have a chance to weaken our enemy, causing attacks against them to deal 6% increased damage. Nice passive 6% damage buff. You know, you don't even think about it. Might of Thessarian, 2% increased strength into Grip of the Dead. This is why I come down this way, because Grip of the Dead is absolutely massive. Reduces the movement speed of enemies within Death and Decay by 90%. You're always going to have a Death and Decay up because you're actually going to take an additional charge of it, and I'll show you that in a second. This enables you to kite a lot in higher keys, and just helps your DPS live as well, right? Because all the mobs are moving a lot slower when you have them in that Death and Decay. Unholy Ground, gain 5% haste while you remain within your Death and Decay. And then Death's Echo, probably the best talent for Death Knight in this game in PvE and PvP content. Death's Advance, Death Decay, and Death Grip have 1 additional charge. I take this in almost all forms of content. I love it. Mythic Plus, Arena, etc. Unholy DK. Everybody's taking Death's Echo for me. That's the way I prefer to play it. I love it. Then I go to Will of the Necropolis, which is so massive for blood DK and keys. Damage below 30% health is reduced by 35%. It's big. It allows you to not get one shot. You can take a hit from max health that would have one shot you, and will actually reduce that damage a bit and keep you alive. So pretty big talent here. Got a 2 out of 2 this. Rune Mastery. Consuming a rune has a chance to increase your strength by 6% for 8 seconds. You'll be zipping through runes, so you will actually get some good value out of Rune Mastery. And then we take A-Bomb Limb, which I actually use on a defensive level, right? So what I was talking about before was you pop A-Bomb Limb, and then you kind of S key backwards on the pull, right? But you're actually pulling forward. And every time your A-Bomb Limb is gripping a target, they're getting interrupted. It's a little bit RNG, but it helps out between having a bomb, 2 grips, your kick, blinding sleet, you know, on those big packs, and then all the DPS disruption that they have. This is how I run the class tree for Blood Death Knight in all content. I've tanked the new raid, and yeah, I tank a lot of keys. I'll show you my IO, you know, after this. But let's get into the blood talent points, which I think are absolutely awesome. I run this build in every single form of content. I do not ever run purgatory. I want to say that right up front. I actually think purgatory is a complete trap. I don't want to have something that enables me to play bad, and that's what I think purgatory does. I want to have a talent that, you know, makes me hyper focus on the rotation, keeping death strikes up, death striking at the right time when you're going to get the most value out of it, and proc the biggest blood shield for your next set of hits, right? I choose to go into the blood tap build rather than the purgatory, you know, any version of the purgatory build, because blood tap is going to allow you to just, you know, keep your runes moving. You get a couple extra runes every minute. You can see we have 2 charges here. It's on a 1-minute recharge. And I weave this into my rotation on my burst openers, right? My Empower Rune weapon, you know, when I'm running Empower Rune weapon goes essentially on Blood DK. But let's go through the right side of the tree, then the left side of the tree, and I'll take you through the middle on the way down. So we're going to go into Blood Boil. This is our big dot. It's AoE. It applies Blood Plague to all you know, all mobs around you. You're going to always keep this off of 1 charge uncapped. Sometimes it's even worth double tapping it. Crimson Scourge, your auto attacks on targets infected with your Blood Plague, which they should always be, have a chance to make your next Death and Decay cost no runes and reset its cooldown. This procs a fair amount. So I mean, you know, between you having 2 charges of Death and Decay and getting Crimson Scourge procs, you know, you're going to have Death and Decay up all the time. Improved Heart Strike. Heart Strike damage is increased by 30%. Synergizes very well with Cleaving Strikes. Death's Caress. This is your AoE necrotic, or excuse me, your ranged necrotic tendril that you can start pulls off with. It'll apply Bloodborne to your target, and it generates 2 Bone Shield charges, so you never go into a pull with no Bone Shield stacks. You know, and it applies Blood Plague, obviously. Relish in Blood. While Crimson Scourge is active, your next Death and Decay heals you for about 2,500 per Bone Shield charge, and you immediately gain 10 runic power. You know, try to drop this proc when you're at 8+ Bone Shield charges. That's my little rule there. Then we can come into Improved Heart Strike again and Hemostasis. So each enemy hit by Blood Boil increases the damage and healing done by your next Death Strike by 8%, stacking up to 5 times. So pretty awesome talent here. You know, you're always going to have Blood Boil going, so you will get, you know, very high stacked, you know, 5-stack Death Strikes quite often. I am able to hit over 400k healing Death Strikes. There are pulls where I do over 120,000 HPS on my own with Blood DK's self-healing. So that's Death Strike, Blood Shield, you know, Leech, Blood Plague in general, Crimson Scourge, etc. Right? You're getting you're getting a ton of healing. Tombstone, another one that we'll get into in a moment. So you don't have the best mitigation on Blood Death Knight, right? If you don't parry something, you're kind of taking it. But, you know, you can keep yourself up and kind of negate the need for a healer. And that's why I really like Blood DK, because it makes the pug healers that I run with only have to focus on the DPS. Maybe they have to throw a cooldown my way every now and then, you know, if I overlap something. But for the most part, I'm pretty self-sufficient on Blood DK, and that's why I love this tank. That right there gets you over your tank anxiety. You want to talk about tank anxiety? Being self-sufficient, knowing that you just need to know a route, and you can keep yourself up for the most part, and the healer just has to worry about, you know, himself and the DPS. Now you're the goalie of the key, right? Because you're dictating the route, you're keeping yourself up. If you succeed, the key will succeed, right? So that's why I like Blood DK. That's how you get over tank anxiety. Let's go into rapid decomposition. Your Blood Plague and Death and Decay deal damage 18% more often, and your Blood Plague leeches 50% more health. So you're going to have Blood Plague on all your targets, and you're going to leech health from it. It's a great dot. Take this into Bloodworms. Your auto attacks have a chance to summon a Bloodworms. Bloodworms deal minor damage to your target for 15 seconds and then burst, healing you for 15% of your missing health. If you drop below 50% health, your Bloodworms will immediately burst and heal you. You're going to see sometimes where you take a big hit and you get some little bursts of healing that you didn't even realize were about to happen. That's your Bloodworms proccing. I think it's awesome. And it really helps mitigate these giant hits in addition to like Will of the Necropolis. Voracious Death Strike's healing is increased by 15% and grants you 10% leech for 8 seconds. Massive. Have to take this on Blood DK. Coagulopathy. Enemies affected by Blood Plague take 5% increased damage from you, and Death Strike increases the damage of your Blood Plague by 30% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So you're getting Blood Plague on the enemies. They're going to take more damage from Death Strike and 5% more damage from you in general. And then every time you Death Strike, that increases the damage of your Blood Plague by 30% for 8 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. So there's going to be pulls where you are doing massive, massive damage, talking over 150,000 DPS in AoE because of how great Blood DK's talents synergize with each other in this build. Take this down to Sanguine Ground. You deal 5% more damage and receive 5% more healing while standing in your Death and Decay. You're always in Death and Decay because number one, it slows everybody. Number 2, you get a haste buff. So you're also getting the benefits of Sanguine Ground. Red Thirst reduces the cooldown on vampiric blood by 1 second per 10 runic power spent. I don't need to 2 out of 2 this because it's up exactly when I need it in keys, because we are spending so much runic power, we're dumping it on Death Strikes. Ironheart. Blood Shield's duration is increased by 2 seconds, and it absorbs 20% more damage. When you have over 40% mastery on a Blood DK in keys, your Blood Shield will almost heal as much as your Death Strike healing does for you. So as we get into gearing, you'll see I go pretty high mastery where I can. And I have some pretty interesting items that enable that high mastery approach to playing Blood DK. Then we go into Bloodshot. While Blood Shield is active, which it is always active, you deal 25% increased physical damage. So great little talent here. In the middle of the tree, we're taking Dancing Rune Weapon. This is your bread and butter cooldown on Blood DK. It's up very, very often. Summons a rune weapon for 12 seconds, mirrors your melee attacks, and bolsters your defenses. You're going to gain 40% parry while this is up, essentially making you immune. Satiable Blade. Dancing Rune Weapon generates 5 Bone Shield charges. So when you go into a pull and you pop Dancing Rune Weapon, not only do you have a ton of parry, but you also, boom, immediately get 5 Bone Shield charges. And since you're walking into a pull, you would have already shot out your Death's Caress. So you'll have 7 Bone Shield charges at that point. And when a charge of Bone Shield is consumed, which you're going to be blasting through your Bone Shield charges when we get into this left side of the tree, your cooldown on Dancing Rune Weapon is reduced by 5 seconds. So you'll have Dancing Rune Weapon up for every single pull in 15 plus keys, just about. Everlasting Bond summons 1 additional copy of Dancing Rune Weapon and increases its duration by 8 seconds. Now let's jump into the left side of our tree. We're going Morrowind into Vampiric Blood. Morrowind is your generator, runic power generator that adds Bone Shield charges. So every time you slap Morrowind on a target, you're going to generate 3 charges of Bone Shield. It's a solid little filler there. Ossuary, while you have 5 Bone Shield charges, at least 5, the cost of Death Strike is reduced by 5 runic power. You should always keep yourself over 5 shield charges. Additionally, your max runic power is increased by 10. Now we go into Heartbreaker. Heartstrike generates 2 additional runic power per target hit. Improved Bone Shield. Bone Shield increases your haste by an additional 10%. Leeching Strike. Heart Strike heals you for 0.5% health for each enemy hit while affected by Blood Plague. So as I said before, synergizes really well with Cleaving Strikes because you're going to be hitting more enemies with Heart Strike. So you're going to get, your Leeching Strikes hitting more and more people. Blood Tap. I think Blood Tap is absolutely awesome. I think it's necessary. If you manage this ability correctly, you'll find yourself almost never in a bad scenario where you have no runes and no runic power. That is the bane of a Blood DK. When you find yourself in a situation where you have no runes and no runic power, you probably have already gone through your cooldowns as well. And at that point, you're food, right? You're going down. Blood Tap allows you to never be in that position, and managing Blood DK's rotation also allows you to not be in that position. Blood Tap is a must-have for Mythic Plus keys. Tombstone. Consume up to 5 Bone Shield charges. For each charge consumed, you gain 6 runic power and absorb damage equal to 6% of your maximum health for 8 seconds. Why is this also awesome? Because you always use this after Dancing Rune weapon, so you're getting maximum value out of the CDR on those Bone Shield charges being consumed, right? You're consuming 5 Bone Shield charges there, so you're actually taking 25 seconds off your Dancing Rune weapon cooldown every time you Tombstone. So make sure you never Tombstone when you're below 30 seconds on your Dancing Rune weapon CD. If you have to do it because you're in an oh shit moment and you didn't really properly manage yourself through that key, do it, right? But try not to. And then this takes us into Shattering Bone. It's going to be generally one of your top damaging abilities, sometimes your top damaging ability in every key. While when Bone Shield is consumed, it shatters, dealing 1,498 shadow damage to nearby enemies. This damage is tripled when you're within your Death and Decay. So when you Tombstone, you want to make sure you're within your Death and Decay. But more than that, you almost always want to be in your Death and Decay, because every Bone Shield charge that gets consumed, you're shattering, right? So massive. These are the talents I use in every scenario in this game right now. You'll notice I don't take Gorfreen's Grasp or Tightening Grasp. I don't think we need it. I don't take Purgatory either. Again, I don't think we need it. Let's look at what we have again. We have 2 grips. We have Abomination Limb on a 2-minute cooldown. You have Blinding Sleet. You have Kick. You have it all. You don't need... This is a crutch to me, and it could be used to better fill out the tree in what I consider the best Mythic Plus build right now. And Purgatory is a complete crutch and a trap. And Heartrend isn't even that great, to be honest with you, because Deathstrike's already doing a ton of damage, and the healing isn't really based off Deathstrike's damage. It's based off of how much damage has happened to you in the last, I think it's 5 seconds, right? Yeah, so if you're taking big hits, right, in that 5-second window, doesn't matter if Deathstrike does, 13,000 damage or, 20% more than that, you're going to heal based off of what the damage that you took. So yeah, kind of a trap on Heartrend. And that leads into Purgatory. Now, let's talk about gearing. And you can see, right? I only have 12% versatility. I'd like to get this up a little bit higher, maybe around like 15% baseline, just for a nice, like, solid little extra damage reduction. But I go high into critical strike chance because that also translates well into parry. As Blood DK, we're parry gods, so you want a lot of critical strike chance. Obviously, that translates well into damage, which translates well into your leech, which translates well into, everything that you do on Blood DK. Haste, I try to stay over 20%, makes the spec feel much better. And on top of that, you generate your runes faster. So 20% haste minimum is a necessity. Mastery, I try to stay over 40%. And what's really enabling me to do that is the Windscar Whetstone, which to me is the absolute best trinket, for Blood DK in this game. Between the leech that you have on Blood DK and the amount of mastery you get here, every 2 minutes, you are absolutely slapping with this trinket. And I'll show you what it looks like on the target dummies in a second. But this is my stat breakdown. Ring, I'm rocking Jeweled Signet of Melandris because it increases my auto attack damage by 160. And you get some good stats here: critical strike, haste, thunderous downburst ring, haste, and I rock this for versatility. I'm rocking mastery enchants on my rings. I got pretty lucky on my second trinket, Whispering Incarnate icon, and it procs Leech, and it was from Heroic. So that was a pretty big win there. CS Mastery Boots with Watcher's Loam, Haste Mastery Leggings with Fierce Armor Kit, Unstable Frostfire Belt. You're going to want to craft this, and eventually you can take it to 418. Just an awesome belt for Blood, Unholy, and Frost Death Knight. I think it's BIS for all three of the classes. It's just an extra like 1 to 2% damage, and it has some great stats for us with CS and Mastery. Diamond Etch Gauntlets, CS Haste. I wouldn't mind replacing these eventually with like some Verse Mast or Haste Mast gloves. Rocking Haste Verse with a socket bracers. You can see I have a Haste Versatility PvP chest here. Actually, yeah, I knew. I finally got my first tier piece this week in the box. So I don't even have 2 set on this. And again, I've cleared all keys at a 17 or higher. Then I'm rocking the Elemental Lariat for necklace. I'm rocking Mastery Haste, Haste Mastery, and Mastery Crit gems in my Lariat. And then a Gaze of Living Quarry, which is Critical Strike, Haste, Heroic Helmet. So my item level in PvE is only 404 equipped. You know, and I have been able to knock out, okay, so just about all 17s, right? I have a couple keys I still need to fix this week because I haven't really run any keys this week. But I'm at 2350 Mythic Plus rating. You can see, right? A lot of double 17s, 17, 18. This was untimed because a DPS actually DC'd. I was pretty sad about that, but we still finished the key. You can see Ruby Life Pools knocked out a 17 Tyrannical. Again, I haven't really run any keys on Fortified this week. I need to do that. 17 Tyrannical again. Jade Serpent, 17 Tyrannical. Algathar Academy, that's standing toe-to-toe with the tree boss. We got a 16 Tyrannical Azure and a 16 Tyrannical Halls of Valor. Getting us almost to 2,400. We're pretty close. If I finish out my Fortified keys, we'll be over 24. So that's how I play Blood DK. Let me show you like how I would open in a pack, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull with our little Death's Caress, drop Death and Decay, come in, A-Bomb Limb, Empower Rune Weapon, Whetstone, drop our boy, proc, you know, and we're just pumping now. And you're Death Striking whenever you can. Keep your Death and Decay down, Death Strike, and you can see, you know, just pumping damage out as a Blood DK. You'll actually do more damage in a live key. We're kind of capped right now, and you know, I'll be honest, it's a little difficult to just talk rotation when you're just used to playing it. But my goal is I try to keep up 10 stacks of Bone Strike. You know, I don't use Tombstone unless I have already used a Dancing Rune Weapon. And that'll give me the most CDR. You can see we already have Dancing Rune Weapon up again, and we literally just cast it on this pack. Yeah, I mean, Blood DK is a blast. Go in hitting hard with the Whetstone. You know, we still have dots on that pack, but you can see Slicing Maelstrom on a 5-pack did 436,000 damage for me there. And the bigger you pull, the more damage Slicing Maelstrom will do because it's uncapped AoE, like all of our other abilities on Blood DK. So your Blood Plague is hitting everything. Your A-Bomb Limb is hitting everything. Your Windscar Whetstone. Live in Court of Stars and farm this trinket out. I'm telling you, it is the best trinket for Season 1 for Blood DK. An absolute must-have, I would say. That's pretty much it, guys. That's the Blood DK guide. Let's talk tank anxiety really quick, right? So something that I brought up in the beginning of the video, and essentially tank anxiety is literally where you feel anxious going into tanking a dungeon. Now, it might be because you don't know a route. It might be because you've never tanked before. It might be because, you're just not good in social scenarios where you have to lead, right? Let me show you a tip uh, that I have started leveraging that allows me to go into a key and never be lost. This is a site called keystone.guru. Here, I'll show it to you over here. Keystone.guru, right? I know I have my face there, so it was blocking stuff. This is Mythic Plus routes made easy. You can discover routes, and you can even create your own route once you feel like, you're there and you're ready to start kind of, making your own routes. But if you go to discover routes, now you can actually click different dungeons, right? We'll just pick a Ruby Life Pools because this is a dungeon that a lot of people freak out about. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Dorky's routes are generally very, very good for timing 15 plus keys. And they're generally kind of beginner friendly. There's a few routes of his where he's leveraging stealths that, you might not always have a rogue to shroud you, and in pugs, you might not have people that are, coming in with invisibility potions. But generally, Dorky's routes are pretty great. I'm going to highly recommend his Ruby Life Pools route, but just this website in general will get you over tank anxiety, because knowledge is really, to sound cliche, right? Knowledge is power. Knowledge, when you go into a situation, knowing the way you can make the outcome, get to that outcome, right? A lot of keys is doing percentage math, and people get mad when tanks over pull. Well, here you can map your routes out, you can plan them, and you're going to go into the key already knowing what you're trying to pull, right? It's pretty cool. You can hover over a mob, you can see its health in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll know the mob name, and look, this is essentially telling you that you're going to pull all of these mobs, right? Which might be a little bit of a big pull for you if you're just starting. So don't feel afraid to like edit the routes a little bit, but keep it around the same percentage, right? So that you don't go over percentage too high. You can see Dorky's going to 102.3% here, but that's not too bad. And I've timed a 17 tyrannical Ruby Life Pools pulling this exact route. So like pulling the Primal Juggernaut all the way up to the Flash Frost Chill Weavers, and then actually doing that pull in this room. I see he does it in this room. I was a little sketched out to do it here, but I brought them all back over here with my 2 grips and Abomination Limb. And then I came forward, pulled all this stuff together, and I actually got a little cheeky. I even pulled this Flash Frost Chill Weaver over here. And this Primal Juggernaut, you could actually pull with this entire group. Even on a 17 keys, I was pulling. I've done a few 17 Ruby Life Pools now. I usually pull all of this together. So check out keystone.guru. It'll help you get over your tank anxiety. I highly recommend Dorky's routes for all of the dungeons. You can go click on Dragonflight Season 1, and this will get you to all of the different dungeons where you can just kind of start checking out routes. Shadow Moon Burial Grounds is pretty damn linear. You're gonna skip the one big purple mob, go left. I mean, it's a pretty simple dungeon to pull. But these new dungeons, and if you didn't play Legion, which I did, so I don't have to look at these routes. Like, I have Legion routes in my brain from forever ago. I was 4100 IO in Legion. I was blasting back in the old Legion days. But we're older now. We've got kids, and we're just here to have a good time pugging some Mythic Plus keys. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the Blood Deathknight guide. I hope the Keystone.guru tips help get you over tank anxiety. And really, if one extra person starts tanking because of this video, somebody else's key is going to go a little quicker. And, we're all going to be in a good spot. We need more tanks in the game. So enjoy the guide, guys. Play some Blood DK. or any of the other tanks. Leverage keystone.guru and yeah, have some fun in WoW Mythic Plus dungeons. So guys, have a nice day, have a nice week, have a nice month, and have a nice year. Tomato Saucin' absolutely out. Blood DK thoroughly in as what I consider the best Mythic Plus tank this season. Take it easy, guys.